Okay. So I've come up with the idea of the Tri-Villages area, which is where Zanzibar rips Max off, and two other unnamed villages. So he's going to end up going back to the village that he ripped him off at, and then he's going to go to two other villages. I haven't thought of yet. Batson Belfry is home of the Count. Of course, the Count is a vampire, or my kind of vampire, not traditional vampire per se, but try to come up with names for his hotel is kind of on the outskirts of a town. Um, so I wanted the one that the Babson Belfry is near to kind of reflect Transylvania, sort of. The idea being that Transylvania is a Hungarian village or town or city um, that has ties to what Dracula or whatever. And so I wanted this to kind of sound like Transylvania, but not be Transylvania. And I was trying to think of different names, and some of them sound. I mean, trying to think of something comedic, but something that doesn't sound stupid. I don't know how to say it. Cringy, non cringy, but goofy. It doesn't have it can be stupid because some funny stuff is stupid. Gilligan's Island, that sort of thing. But the kind of cringy aspect of it, and so I was just trying to come up with rhyming things that rhyme with Transylvania. I immediately thought of Pennsylvania just because now, granted, Transylvania is supposed to be in Hungary. Or might actually be in Hungary. I don't remember. Transylvania is a real place, right? Even though they link a lot the vampire stuff, the you know whatever to it. But so even though that's there, Hansel is Hansel and Gretel. I'm guessing Hansel is supposed to be a German name, right? Because Hansel and Gretel is actually Brothers Grimm fairy tale, right? And so uh, one of the things I thought of was Hansylvania. Then I thought of Dancylvania just because it rhymes, something to do with dancing, but it sounded kind of cringy to me. That's why I kind of backed it up here. And then I could do a joke and use Pennsylvania, and I don't mean pants as in PANT, as in underpants or the American word for trousers. I mean pan as in PAN. You know how Pennsylvania, named after William Penn here in the U.S., um, is Pennsylvania, I believe. I think that's how you spell it, right? Yeah. So I could do this Pennsylvania. It does kind of sound like Pennsylvania, which might actually be funny. I mean, it kind of depends on the context. We call trousers pants over here in the U.S., right? Um, and you guys in the UK tend to say pants instead of like underpants, and as a sort of a slang for like crap or something. I don't know if I got that right exactly, but kind of a slang for underwear basically. But that could have like a double meaning depending on where in the world you are, and it would still sound funny. Here, in fact, that's not a bad idea. Here, you know what? I'm going to use that. Pennsylvania. No, not those kind of pants, but trousers. Trousers. They make the best trousers in the kingdom. Originally, they wanted. Originally, some wanted to name it Trouserville, but that that didn't really cut it. That didn't really cut it. It would be Trouserville. Let's see something here. Uh, is there? I don't know. Is it just something I don't know? Is there a uh? Is there something that's a city or a town? Oh, town. Trouser Town. Okay, that's right. That's right. How about Trouserton? Trouserton, like Trouser Town. Trouser Town. Trouser Town sounds funnier than Trouserton. We'll stick it to Trouserton. It gives it more of a kind of a fantasy-ish. And really, when I say fantasy, I just mean it gives it kind of the like it's semi-familiar because the word trousers is a familiar word, but uh, Trouserton, you know, it sounds like it could be a city somewhere. So it's like if you said it, somebody wouldn't be able to tell if it was a joke or not. Uh, so Trouserton, originally some wanted to make it Trouserton, uh, but they were voted down. Pennsylvania. Yeah, you know, uh, uh, okay, so yeah, a ghost town. What a ghost town is. We call it ghost town. That doesn't sound funny, but the idea is funny. Ghost town, where uh, lived some of Enchanted Land's prominent most prominent spirits. Spirits. Okay, so now we have Pennsylvania. We have Ghost Town. Trouserton, Trouserton almost sounds funnier than Pennsylvania. Maybe Trouserton should be the name, and Pennsylvania should be the one that gets voted down because it sounds funnier. I'm not sure. Anyways, if anybody is watching or listening and likes one or the other better, let me know. Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is the actual name. Trouserton as the name that got voted down, or Trouserton as the name of the village, and uh, Pennsylvania, it's got to be the other way around, right? Pennsylvania is going to be the joke, right? The joke is, now they're both kind of jokes. Trouserton is a dumb name for a village or a city or town or anything, but uh, it kind of fits, right? It fits as a name and it fits. Okay, so let's do this a little bit different. I'm not going to delete that just yet. I'm going to rewrite it and then I'll delete it afterwards. The try villages area is composed of the villages of uh, Trouserton, makers of the best trousers in the kingdom. It was almost called Pennsylvania. It was almost called Pennsylvania until people realized how much of a joke that would make them. Okay, we're gonna call it Trouserton. Okay, and it almost sounds like a legit town name, Trouserton. But at the same time, there's still a funny thing about it. And part of it, makers the best trousers in the kingdom. It was almost called Pennsylvania until people realized how much of a joke that would make them. Okay, so we got Trouserton. Ghost Town sounds a little too on the nose. And Ghost Town, I was thinking, okay, so the Count, uh, he tries to he likes to he likes to fancy himself as a scary, even though he's not at all scary, right? In fact, he's a nice guy and stuff. He's actually one of the good guys, but so he calls his hotel the Bats in the Belfry, or his inn. You could call it. It could be an inn, I guess, because this is like a medieval setting. It's fantasy setting, so it could still be called hotel, but call it the Bats in the Belfry Inn. You know, here let's go ahead and ask I guess ChatGPT. Um, doesn't really matter. I know inn is used as a classic name uh, for what's essentially hotel, like in medieval times and some later still historic times. Are there any other names for hotels that wasn't used in the modern age? Hotel is used so much now that it seems too modern for what I want. Any other names for an inn or the like? You're going for that cozy, candlelit, medieval, vaguely old-timey vibe where the barkeep wipes mugs with a rag and it hasn't been cleaned since the dawn of time. There are plenty of alternatives to end the evoca period feel without sounding too modern like hotel. Here's grouped by flavor and usage. Well, tavern, uh, yeah, but tavern is more tavern and alehouse. Lodge, okay, a lodge, I get it. Lodging house, lodgings. That's in Belfry Lodge might work. Hostelry. Hostel. Mint. Originally meant a traveler's lodging before it became youth hostel, still works for a fantasy medieval tone. Yeah, hostel. In other words, a place where you're hosted, basically, I think. Guest house, boarding house. Yeah, boarding house is long term. The Bats and the Belfry is a essentially a hotel. I could either use lodge or I could use inn. Bats and the Belfry Inn doesn't have a quite the ring in it to it. The Bats and the Belfry Hotel. I wanted to call it the Bats and Belfry Motel, but motel is even more modern than hotel because motel is like a motor inn. It's like a motor, you know, a motorist hotel basically. So not that you couldn't have motels back in the day. They didn't never call them that though because but essentially um, you might have something like a motel. Atmospheric descriptive. Try. What's the problem? Tavern. Okay, tavern, ale house. Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wayfarer's refuge haven. Traveler's roost. Lantern lodge. These are actually names. The Hearth and Spoon. The Sleepy Stag. Yeah, these are actual names. I'm not really looking for actual names. Um, I'm not looking for names. I'm looking for what kind of lodging it is. Inn or lodge as tavern and ale house are typically like bars, even they have rooms. If they have rooms. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure this out. Got it. You have to use generic terms for lodging, category, type of establishment, not the proper names. An inn, hostelry, away house, guest house, lodging house, boarding house, rooming house, hospice, abbey house, pilgrim's hall, coaching house, coaching inn. Hmm. Uh, rustic frontier type lodge, cabin house, rest lodge, hostel, guest hall, manor lodgings, posting house. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, I have a I have a hotel run by a vampire, not the typical vampire, but fits more my comedy fantasy gaming vibe. Um, they're mostly misunderstood. They're mostly misunderstood in the game. They drink a special wine made from bloodberry that gave rise to the myth that they drink blood. They do, however, tend to bite their intended mates on the neck, which turns that person into a vampire. But they're not bad guys. His name is the Count. He has a name that is secret until maybe the end of the game. It's called the Bats in the Belfry. And I wanted to originally use motel, even though that term is fairly modern. But hotel might fit better. And then I was thinking hotel actually sounds too modern. And so I'm still searching for the right word. Maybe it'll give me some more ideas. We'll see. The Vampire owns an establishment called the Bats in the Belfry, a light-hearted fantasy world such a perfect blend of music. Okay. Motel is too modern, according to the 1920s Bermuda Hotel. Hotel is technically 18th century onward, a bit too modern sounding for your game's tone, but since your role is fantasy prestige, we could find something that feels timeless, not anachronistic, but not too stodgy. Counts hospitality options. Hostelry. Breakfast at dusk. Yeah. Elegant and archaic. Bats and Belfry Hostelry. It's a little too archaic, though. It's a little too... Like, I know there's such things as hostels now, and the word is used sometimes in a modern context, but the Count's Guest House Manor. Bats in the Belfry Manor sounds like an estate repurposed for guests. Now that might work. Bats in the Belfry Hall. Bats in the Belfry Manor. Bats in the Belfry Manor does not roll off the tongue or off the thought. But it fits, right? It would fit. Bats in the Belfry Lodge. Bats in the Belfry Rest House. Way House. Bats in the Belfry. Your sanctuary from... That's actually not a bad deal. Bats in Belfry Refuge. Your sanctuary from the sunlight. Of course, it runs like a regular hotel, so guests don't have to be up at night and sleeping during the day. It's the theme, and the count's the count, so sanctum. The Belfry Boarding House. Belfry Lodgings. The Bats in the Belfry Lodgings might work. House of Hospitality. Historian. Bats in the Belfry Lodge. Bats in the Belfry Hall does not sound too bad. Dang, I got a couple of nasty spiders on my ceiling. Anyways, let's see. Hold on. Pardon me? I don't like sneezing. Um, okay. Yeah, I'm still actually returning to motel, although I do know that's modern. Of course, enchanted lands exist in modern times. They're just a fantasy kingdom. Um, uh, uh, that you generally try to keep to some sort of medieval uh, type setup. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I still actually keep returning to motel. Um, yes. Yeah, Blueberry Rain, slightly anachronistic establishment name is on brand. Motel, pun it up. Not a bad idea. And a complimentary. That's actually not a bad idea. That's motel. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna be calling it that. It's the Bats and Belfry. That's the name. Uh, motel spelled with moat. That's right. I could do. That's not a bad idea. I don't know about the complimentary garlic free pills. That's actually not a bad idea. That's actually pretty good. Uh, but it came up with it. I didn't come up with it. So the Bloodberry Lounge. That's actually not a bad idea either. The Belfry Motel. Actually, it's kind of funny because it seems ChatGPT is actually shows some creativity. We vampires invented the word centuries ago. It means place of nocturnal rest and free continental breakfast. That's great. That's the perfect tone and everything. Like I should just take it and use it. Uh, well, I don't like fully using AI suggestions. I do like the idea of it being spelled out, out, um, or maybe even out, uh, depending. It will need a moat, but that can just be cosmetic. Upgrade for free. What does that mean? Upgrade for free. It might actually be just a decorative koi pond or filled with rubber bats. If it makes the pun obvious, like it knows it's being clever, the count might explain like, "Oh, the motel, the modern concept. Travelers pull up right by boat, very efficient." Well, it's not going to do that, but yeah. What's interesting to me is even though motel is like motorist hotel for a motor inn, um, usually a motel consists of rooms that are only ground floor with parking right in front. And they don't typically have a second story or more. They don't typically have more than one story. Uh, Story or word? No, story's not a word. Okay. Don't typically have more than one story. I'd imagine that even though inns in the past have been in uh, two-level buildings, a lot of them might be built ground floor, where you can pull up your coach right to the door. Granted, the term is based on modern words, but I could imagine the same concept. You put your finger, really clever historical parallel. That's genius to leaning into motel. It's not done yet. Yeah, you could say that the modern motel was changed to the Motors Hotel when it used to mean uh, that the lodgings had a moat around it to protect it. Medieval coach lodge. Modern motels are all about convenience for travelers. Pull up, step inside, sleep, move on. Well, that was also the dream of medieval travelers. Just replace engines with horses and wheels with hooves. So in your world, the parking lot is a courtyard or a coach circle right in front of each room. Each room might have a stable or stall or hitching post instead of a carport. The ground floor rooms only layout fits perfectly. It would be practical in pre-industrial kingdom. You could even imagine each guest enjoys a private entrance, convenient for late night arrivals or early morning escapes. Elaine the Count could totally deliver with a knowing smirk. Architectural world building. Here's what fits the vampire aesthetic and functional parody. Motel is a crescent-shaped stone building. Crescent-shaped. I wasn't thinking about that, but never know. Facing inward, the moat and the courtyard. Each door opens into a small porch of the carriage-sized pull-up space. Torches or magic lanterns line the path like medieval streetlights. There's an upper balcony walkway, maybe for staff to count himself. All the guest rooms are ground level. And of course, a big swinging sign reads "Bats in the Belfry Motel," maybe glowing faintly red after sundown. Bonus story: you can even have the Count brag that he invented the concept. In my youth, I traveled often and grew weary of climbing staircases at dawn, so I received a new kind of hostelry. Each guest enjoys a private chamber mere steps from their conveyance. A revolutionary idea, centuries ahead of its time. Cue a tiny pause, and he adds, the moat was my accountant's idea, something about property taxes. So even that's funny. Even that's showing the creativity. That's uh It's kind of too bad that I'm not as creative as this AI is, you know. Uh, Because yeah, think about the moat, the accountant's idea, property taxes. Maybe you don't want to pay property taxes. So what do? You put a moat so that any tax collector couldn't access couldn't access the hotel without you lowering the gate, lowering the drawbridge, and it would have a drawbridge. I'm actually thinking of this now. Now I'm looking at this and kind of going, this you can make this. This is sort of like a castle, right? You have a courtyard, but the courtyard is where you actually the rooms. So you have the main building, which is it's be where the lobby and stuff is. So you go across the drawbridge and into the motel MOATEL and then you have you you drive up or ride whatever drive up to the lobby. You check in and then you get keys to one of the lodges, um, with its own parking space, essentially with its own coach space. And like I said, a hitching post for the horses. Maybe a stable if you uh, yeah, maybe a separate stable if you want to put your horses away during the night instead of having them stand out there outside at the hitching post. Now, that's okay. I've already got ideas for that, but I'm going to stick with motel. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of it, obviously. And obviously I didn't think of it. Um, okay. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, so basically, um, I don't know how much you remember. What's this upgrade for free thing? Oh, free for 1 month. I see. Expanded messaging, faster creation, expanded memory context. 200 a month. I could not afford that. I can't even afford $20 a month. But that's okay. We're not gonna worry about that. In the game. Um game summary update and Enchanted and game summary. I think it's conversations. But there's this part I'm working on where so quick recap of the story. Enchanted Lands is real life magic kingdom turned tourist resort that has fallen on hard times. Someone who was banished was rumored to have returned. The king acts strangely. A new a stranger named Maximilians makes a deal with the king to buy enchanted lands, and then he's closed everything up pretty much. Hubert, the great wizard chief advisor to the king and best friend of the king, gets some outside help. Now, Maxim. I always spell Maximilian wrong. You know, the actual name. It's one L. One L. Gotta remember that. L. That vanished. Wizard. Actually. Okay, Max Millions. In reality is Maximilian. So, the sorcerer that was banished. He's gotten back in somehow. Okay, so I think. Okay. Please acknowledge. Goes up the king. The great Everloyal was your best friend. The king suspects foul magic was literally and figuratively seeks outside help your player's entry point to uncover what's really going on. So yes, I'm right there with you on this. Well, yes and no. I'm thinking up some names for a few of the villages. So at this point in time, there's a new guy named Zanzibar the Great, a stage name, although I haven't decided on a real name just yet, who is a magician and a con artist. He has a pet crow named Corvus that actually steals valuables from the audience while they're watching him perform magic tricks. He's in Vegas. He's in Las Vegas in our realm, and he gets caught. So now he's on the run from police on foot, running down the strip. Runs into a hotel / convention center, and disappears into a crowd of wizards who just happen to be from Enchanted lands and having their convention there in Vegas. So he manages to escape into Enchanted lands by pretending to be a wizard. Little realizing they're all real wizards and they're returning to Enchanted Lands. Please acknowledge or I can continue. Okay. I'm having to like like do a new summary. Although this kind of does memory now like Grok does. In fact, both of them now I believe can actually go back and look at a previous conversation that you've had. Flashy Vegas magician, smooth talking con artist, all smoke and mirrors, sleight of hand, is truly kleptomaniac. Corvus act literally helps him pick that into his pockets. He gets busted mid City spectacle, bolts down the strip, probably still in the sequin cape, dives into a hotel convention crowd, and once you know it, they're actual wizards from the Enchanted Lands. Wrapping up the conference on like ethical necromancy, necromancy and spell safety 101. That's I don't know, the creativeness now. It's funny because whenever I talk to these AIs and I ask them like, make me rich or can you make my thing better or whatever, and they just don't quite do that, right? They're supposed to be as smart as PhDs and all that stuff, but when you ask them to do something kind of useful or what would be useful to you, they never kind of exactly come up with what you need. But at the same time, especially ChatGPT, I think ChatGPT is a little bit more on the creative side than Grok is. But it comes up with stuff that's funny that I didn't think about that would totally fit into the game here. Ethical necromancy and spell safety 101, right? I mean, you'd find that just like, you know, necromancy, right? Raising people from the dead or whatever is not something you would tie ethical to. It makes it funny, right? But anyways, I'll probably forget all this that it said here, except for there's a couple things I write down, and I'll probably have to put on my own funny stuff afterwards, and it probably won't even be as good as what ChatGPT is generating right now. Okay, so yes, um, so when in the lands, he realizes no one is chasing him, and maybe some of the locals seem even a bit gullible. So he starts to start up his uh his operation again. He starts up. He starts to start. He starts up his operation again on a new and unsuspecting citizenry. It just so happens on one of these shows, he happens to have Corvus cut Max's coin purse. When Max finds out, he's furious. Max finds out he's furious, and so now he has to go track him down. So, there are two ways to track him down. One is from his own private flying train. This, they have flying trains that run on the magical mineral, the magical ore, Quicksilver. So I'm going down the track on foot. Method. Until I get that done, then I will do the fine train method. So he has to go back to the scene of the crime, as it were, and then ask around to see if he can track the bar down. So this town comprises I don't know how you use the word comprises, because this town is one of 3 that comprise the Tri-Villages area. Of which I'm trying to come up with names for. I have one called Trouser Gun. Best trousers in the kingdom. And a little side note, originally it was going to be named Exzel. When the residents decided they didn't want to be the butt of a joke. And there's another joke in there somewhere, I'm sure. You know, butt, pants, you do the math. The next, I'm thinking of a town that's in the Belfry Motel. Is near, which I'm thinking is going to be a literal ghost town. What did I write here? Well, I didn't write. Okay. Where some of Enchanted Land's most prominent residents go to rest after they pass on. So you'll be able to interact with the residents there, but I'm trying to think of something more interesting than Ghost Town. Prevent magical absurdity. The biggest con is the actual magic land. But it does what any self-respecting huckster would: start scamming the locals. Bird Corvus accidentally steals from Maximilian's Max, who's not the sort of guy you want to annoy. Max decides to come down, starting on foot, retracing the crime scene through the Tri-Villages area. One of those villages, Trouserton, a proud home of the finest legwear in the land, and possibly the seat of style, if we were going for puns. See, I would never think of that. The seat of style, that's correct. Another village where the bats and the Belfry Motel sits near or within a literal ghost town for posthumous residents. Ghost alternatives for the motel area. Gastington. Small classic town name with a ghastly flair. Welcome to Gastington. Population fluctuating. Aftervale. Reston on the moat. Rest in peace. Spectre's Hollow. Okay. Deadwick. Deadwick, peaceful, permanent, property value, stable since 1432. Permanent's weirdly formal, but funny in your world's tone. A town named after could be called Permanence. That's actually not a bad idea. I mean, if I'm thinking of a western, like a western movie, show, whatever, game even, the town of Permanence actually sounds like a town that they would make, or it sounds like maybe a fictional town that somebody would make for yeah, Permanence. And the fact that it's kind of funny because the fact that the ghost town is not a town anymore, right? A ghost town typically means there's nobody left there and the buildings are still standing, and it would be called permanence, meaning that it wasn't very permanent in the sense that nobody lives there anymore, or permanence meaning that the buildings are still standing and so they're permanently there. In this case, it would be where you're uh, some of the citizens of Enchanted Lands are going to as their permanent resting place, right? Phantom Shire, okay, Rest Haven, Spirit Springs. Spirit Springs, doesn't sound like a bad idea. I mean, it sounds a little bit more whimsical. Necroby and Canterbury. Subtle enough that players won't groan right away. Ghost Town name, 83rd Village, something neutral. Middleville, Bridgeton, Stitchford. Yeah. Chowderton, Deadwick, and Sipridge sounds like a dirty joke, doesn't it? Uh, yeah, that's funny. Okay. If I had to pick top three fits for your tone, the Bats and Belfry Motel, I go with the Reston on the Moat. Gassington. Gassington doesn't sound like a bad idea. It really doesn't. Um, let's think of the Count being a vampire and um, thinking of a name for the ghost town that kind of evokes, let's say, Transylvania. Thinking the vampire gothic Bible, keeping it playful, storybookish. It's vampires, undead, or gothic lore. Transylvania's atmosphere. Bram Solo, Bram Stoker. Okay, I get it. Nosfordale. That just sounds funny. Nosfordale. Nosfordale. Nosfordale with a Dell. Bladwick. Bladwick. Sanguivale. Sanguis slam for Bud. Sanguivale. Jacqueline. Yeah, Countshire. Nightfin. Crimson Hollow. Very on the nose vampire aesthetic. Batmore. Vesperwick. Um, I don't know. I think that's funny because I wanted to actually sound like Transylvania. That's why I was thinking of. That's why I was thinking of Pennsylvania in the first thing. I was thinking Transylvania. I was thinking of anything Fancyvania, whatever. I was just thinking of a bunch of different Vania type of deal that sounds like Transylvania. Um, I might make the third village a kind of a boring kind of like the village of Nick or the village of Bob or no Bob is a like a regular human name, so even Nick is a name too, but the village of, let's see, Nosfordale. 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 Hmm. Nose for Dale. Nose for Dale. Really fun options. Dale gives it a quaint English village vibe. Could exist on a map. Nose for Dell. Slightly more whimsical and exotic. The Dell ending feels softer, more story fantasy, a bit more playful. Nose for Dell. First thing for your games calling me Nose for Dell. It's a sweet spot. It's not the vampire lore. Um, sure. Nose for Wick, nose for Fen, nose for Holt, nose for Mir, nose for Haven. Slightly gothic. No thanks. Still balancing the vampire thing versus the ghost town idea. And maybe some options that sound similar to the actual name Pennsylvania. That's partly why I came up with Pennsylvania, but it sounded too funny that it should be the rejected name. But that's a different village. Okay. Coming up with the village names. I got it. You're trying to capture the Transylvanian Gothic name itself. Draconsvale. Sylvania Hollow. Vanilla. What? Oh. Vanilla. But Vanilla? Transdale. Balin, Sylvania. Slightly fancier. Stravildale. Sylvania. No, I don't really like those either. Huh. See something here. I'm looking at my image there in Good Evening Rook. And in my case, it is actually the afternoon, and it's almost 1 o'clock. It's almost time for me to go off of part 2 here, or off of part 1 here. Let's see. Let's go back up to these ones that have to do with the ghost thing. Spectre's Hollow, Reston Moat. Well, it doesn't sound very funny though. But I could call it. I could call the town Rest in Peace. The town. Rest in Peace. Permanence. after Bill. Gastington. Actually, Gastington, we have Trouserton, we have Gastington. Maybe I should do Gastington. That's, sounds, it fits in with Trouserton. Not liking these that much. Thinking about Gastington. We already have a Trouserton. Possibly a third one with the specifics of done. Gibson, Candleton, Pington, Cobbleton, Munnington, Silverstone, Shiverstone Manor. That's not a city. Uh, uh, yeah. Can we think of alternatives to Gaston that still retain the fun, and that are similar to them? See if we can come up with more Ghostington, Spectreton, Spookton, Spooktown, Shadowton, Grimton, Chillington. Yeah, Chillington, Trouserton, and Chillington. Chillington. Yeah, Nosfridel or Chillington? Chillington. Chillington possibly strikes the right balance. Okay. Trouserton, Chillington, and Master Trouserton, Hotel, Ethereal, then Corporal. No, this is good. So I'm thinking of a third town village. Possibly Leperton. See, leper, right? Okay. I want you to think of leprosy, right? The word leprosy. I'm not want you to think of leprosy. Leperton. What do you think that village would be about? instead of disease. See, it's thinking the same thing, right? Because it's spelled like leprosy, right? I think it's funny because I thought of a specific reason to use leper gun, and it doesn't actually have to do with the leprosy. Leprosy. How do you spell leprosy? Leprosy. Uh, as a more as more of a play words. I have lots of sheep there. There's do sheep do a lot of leaping? And especially known gambling or springing, which involves running and making large vertical leaps in the air. Okay, good, good, good. Because that's what I'm thinking, right? They have lots of sheep there, and the sheep like to leap about. So maybe an unfortunate turn of events changed Leap Town into Upper Town. Like maybe the original original charter misspelled leap. Misspelled Leaperton as Leperton. And that actually fits my comedy thing, because that's what people will be thinking. They'll be thinking leprosy, but well, actually, it's not leprosy. Fix your storybook fan. For energetic local sheep who love to leap across pastures, a mistake due to describe sloppy handwriting or official typo. The charter came out as Leperton. The name stuck. Villagers just leaned into it with humor. Well, maybe they didn't lean into it. Maybe they're kind of like the butt of the joke, you know. Village vibe. Yeah. Leaping sheep, minor gameplay hazard, local puns, fluffy leap, sheer delight. Zanzibar could accidentally get knocked over by jumping sheep during one of his columns. Comedic chaos. Okay, thanks. That works. Chillington. So, okay. Oh shoot, I'm 5 minutes late, but okay. I'm gonna write this down. Uh, Chillington. Um, place where the most prominent citizens go to rest after they pass on, and Leperton. An unfortunate accident change the name to refer the original name. Leaper is leper, and they've been living down ever since. They have an abundance of sheep who like to leap. That's a spelling, that's a rhyming, but it's not rhyming on purpose. Okay, so they have a bunch of sheep who like to leap, and originally it was going to be called Leap Town. But to actually we'll say Leap Town is 2 words, Leap Town, but to keep parity with the other tri-villages, towns, they decided on Leap Town, Leapton, but the scribe who filled out the charter accidentally left out the A, and now it's what do I call it? Leperton. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. Leaperton. Wait. Of course. Leaperton. Leaptown. Leaperton. But the scribe who filled out the chart accidentally left out the A, now it's Leperton. Much to the chagrin of the residents. And over the years, it's lost residents. So they kind of fallen on their own kind of hard times, in a sense. This is the most I've done out of here. Trouserton's the best trousers in the kingdom. They're going to call it Pennsylvania, but to realize how much of a joke it would make them. Chellington was because the prominent citizens go to rest there, and so it's filled with ghosts essentially. And then Leaptown, which would be changed to Leaperton to kind of fit in with the other 2 tri-villages names, went with Leaperton, and then left the scribe left out the A like a dork, and so now everybody thinks there are lepers there, or it has to do with leprosy. I won't say leprosy ever, but that's the thought. That's the idea. Okay, so I went way over time, and so I'll probably take I'll still take an hour, and so I'll be back at like 2:10 my time, or 5:10 in the UK. There, Rook, if you care at all. So I will go ahead and I will just it's nice to have 6 people in here now, but now this part of the stream is done, and I'll be back in an hour, in which we'll finish getting the drag selection working. There's some few quirks that's not working correctly like it's supposed to, so I'll have to figure out how to handle that. But we'll do that. I'll do that in an hour. So I'll see everybody in an hour yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, I'll see you in an hour if you're interested in me scripting the layout tool, or coding the layout tool, or whatever. Say scripting, coding, because GD scripts is a script. It's not a programming language per se, but it does everything you can do in a programming language. So it's still a programming language, I guess. So coding, scripting, whatever you want to call it. It's still real coding. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just when I go back and forth, I think GD script. I'm thinking I'm scripting, and then sometimes I'm going, well, I'm actually coding because it's got the math libraries, it's got all the libraries, and you can hook in some C sharp, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff. So it's based on Python. It's a language. So, anyways, I'll see you in about an hour. Um, Thank you for watching part one, and I will see you in an hour.